Hey everybody, we're going to look at bureaucracies today. There are a lot of people who work for state and local governments throughout our country, and what they do is they work within a bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy, whenever you hear that phrase, whether it's positive or negative, understand that the bureaucracy that you have in the United States at the state and local level performs a specific function of government. And what they tend to do is implement the public policy that has been passed by your legislature and signed by your governor, or the public policy that has been put in place at the local level by your councilman and signed by your mayor. But let's face it, whenever you hear about a bureaucracy, some things that come to mind, endless regulations, red tape, paperwork, inefficiency, waste, impersonality, unresponsiveness. We hear about that, and I always use the example of the DMV at your state level. Nobody likes going to it, but you do need that license, or you do need that paperwork to be filed or stamped or approved. But you wait in long lines because, well, there's no DMV of the state, and there is no competition with the state DMV, let's say like Joe's DMV, where everything works easier. So you kind of have to deal with it. Sociologist Max Weber said that a typical bureaucracy has to have a chain of command, a division of labor, responsibility of clear lines of organizational goals. That does exist in a true or ideal bureaucracy. It also has the impersonal treatment of all persons equally and according to the rules. So there has to be a set of rules and regulations for everybody to follow. Like I said in the beginning, the big thing that the bureaucracy does is implement policy, but they also deal with regulation, adjudication, discretion, and they also have their own goals in mind. And their biggest goal is to make sure that their offices, the bureaucrats' offices, have some kind of prestige. So they want the budgets to favor their goals. And if the budgets that are passed by, let's say, the local governments or the state governments favor the bureaucracy or this agency that wants that money, then they will seem relevant overall. So budgets gives credence to the relevancy of that agency. And here you see some of the definitions of implementation, regulation, and adjudication. And what we also noticed is that the bureaucracy has grown throughout the years. One of the largest sources of bureaucracy in the United States are the teachers, the aides, and the support staff working in elementary education. Bureaucracies come in two forms. They come in a very fragmented executive branch style and a less fragmented executive branch style. Here is a fragmented style in Mississippi. And here we see more of an efficient organizational chart from the state of Michigan. There are two types of systems and how you can get a job in government. The patronage system, which is like the old-time Chicago way of doing things. Your loyalty to a particular political party will or may not give you a job. Or there's the merit system where you have to pass a test to work for government. Here is how much we spend at the state and local level, and also the state and local employees as the percentage of total employment in a particular state. You see that Alaska is at the top of the list in both. We also must not forget about the power of public unions and the idea of collective bargaining. The public unions fight for wages and benefits. They do have political clout. Typically, public unions are on the side of the Democratic Party. And no matter if we're talking about the national government or state policy, nobody really likes regulations. And so some of the, let's say, reforms that we have in trying to correct all the inefficiency and waste from regulation, they would include privatization, what we might call the reinventing of government through privatization as well, and giving state bureaucracies a grading system. And whenever you hear about privatization, what we're talking about is the shifting of many responsibilities from government to the private marketplace. So from the public to the private sphere. When you look at the public's views about the government, what you see here is that really nobody likes government. And nobody thinks that government is actually going to do something very well. And there's always a few people who have no idea as to what you're talking about. So what we do is we talk about reinventing government, focusing on the entrepreneurs, encouraging governments to be results-oriented, for example, and then also to create market incentives to give them some monetary benefits as well. And we also talk about that through reforming, like I said before, that states get grades, that we have whistleblower protection laws, and so on and so forth.